Alright, let's talk about the different attributions to the conversion phases or elements. Let's start with the so-called element or conversion phase wood. The associated color with wood is green. The season the conversion phase wood is attributed to is springtime, when everything is blooming, when everything starts to grow again. So obviously one basic principle of the conversion phase wood is this aspect of new growth, of creativity, and of new starting energy. The next aspect is the period of life. Each of the conversion phases actually attributes to one specific period in your lifetime. Obviously, you can't say exactly from 0 to age 5 we have this phase, and from age 5 to age 25 we have this phase, because the life cycles of all humans are a little bit different. So that's an estimation, and it's again something individual. But the basic principle remains. It's the same than the creational circle, which is also why the creational circle, wood, fire, earth, metal, water, wood, is also the basic description of the 5 conversion phases. Now, the attributed period of time of the element wood, the conversion phase wood, is from birth to your childhood, including your childhood. So the period where you get out of your mother's womb, you scream, you're active, you're loud, you want to express yourself. That's wood. That's the growing aspect of the wood element. Another aspect that's attributed to the wood is the climate factor wind. Now it depends if your wood element, your wood conversion phase in your life is balanced, then you probably won't have a big problem with wind in nature. But you probably will still get problems with unnatural wind aspects. An unnatural wind aspect would be wind from an AC unit or from a fan, or the crisscross wind in a car when all windows are open. So, however, the climate factor of one conversion phase is a representation of the basic principle of this conversion phase in nature. Wood obviously has to do a lot with movement, and the wind is always in motion. It's always playful, joyful, and it's in motion. It's constantly moving. It's a basic principle that wind is moving. Otherwise, it's not wind. Now, the other thing is that those climate factors are also, on the other hand, possible pathogenic factors for your body, meaning that if your body has to do with those climate factors in an unnatural way, like I said, for instance, an AC unit, open windows and stuff like that, where the wind flows in an unnatural path, then this aspect of wind is actually something that can lead to problems for people who have a lot of the wood element in their system. What does this mean? I haven't talked about that till now, so I'm going to do that right now. It means each and every person has some of those elementary aspects present within them. Actually, most people have all of them at some level, but 2 or 3 are the major factors that you could use to describe the basic personality of a person. So obviously, you know, there are very friendly, outgoing people. There are very straight and very structured people. There are people who are very communicative and are able to understand everyone and talk with absolutely everyone. So those are all different aspects that, again, you can attribute to different elementary phases. That's what I mean when I talk about if someone has more of this or has more of that, meaning if some attributes are more present in the personality and the body structure of a certain person, then this also means that there are the strengths as well as the possible weaknesses of this person. Now let's jump to the next aspect. We just talked about climate factor. Climate factor for the wood, again, is the wind and its positives as well as its possible negatives, because the wind always plays. The wind is the creative aspect, but wind can also be very destructive. From that, jumping right into emotions. Emotions or psychological aspects. Psychological aspect of the wood element or the wood conversion phase is creativity, is the ability to be completely calm in very stressful situations, to keep a clear head, not to get loud, not to get angry, and just to be balanced out, centered, but still able to tell what to do and do it with all power necessary in order to achieve a certain goal. In a negative aspect, so-called negative aspect, anger and like really exploding out of rage, that's something that you'll find in the wood element as well. Unfortunately, also creativity in being destructive. So it's always, once again, we jump to the other principle that we heard about. It's the yin and yang principle. Even in the elements, in the conversion phases, those principles, the positive and the negative, that can't live without each other, they are present there and you can find them there. So the positive emotional factor that's there in the wood is really this absolute creativity, this new starting energy, the ability to support someone else's positive development with positive talk, with, yes, just supporting people and lifting people up, and also in stressful situations, be completely calm, centered, and still do what is necessary. And on the other hand, this very destructive aspect, this very aggressive aspect. Interesting thing though, the aggression of the wood element is like an explosion. So if someone who has a lot of this conversion phase wood in his personality aspects is angry with you, then this person is angry with you right now, at this moment. And as soon as this anger is expressed, it's gone. So people with a lot of conversion phase wood, they don't clinch on to anger. If they're angry once, they explode and then they're not angry anymore. And that's very difficult to understand for many other archetypes. Maybe we'll go into that a little bit later, but it's not that relevant for the moving aspects that I want to talk with you about. But still, it's important to understand. It helps you to understand yourself. And as this video is also about helping you to understand yourself and in all aspects, it's an important part as well. Let's jump to the next aspect. Attributed organ. The in organ of the liver would be, sorry, I said it already. The in organ of the conversion phase wood is the liver, and the yang organ is the gallbladder. The associated joint with the wood element is the shoulder joint. The associated sensory organ are the eyes. The body type of a person who has a lot of conversion phase wood in their system, in their physical and also psychological expression, the physical attributes are they have a very, very strong musculature, meaning that they have very defined muscles and muscles that work very well. They need to move, and normally they have a little darker and thick skin. So if someone with a lot of conversion phase wood, say, goes out and sits in the sun, it's likely that he or she doesn't get sunburned that easily, because the skin turns dark quite nicely, quite fast, and so they have a natural protecting aspect against those elements. So a strong wood element has to do with movement, it has to do with the ability to be out in nature, to interact with nature. It's literally like a tree who can withstand almost all the aspects thrown at it in nature. Another aspect, and talking about body type, if you have someone with a lot of conversion phase wood, and that's the primary aspect in this person, it's very likely this person isn't very fat, because they have such a high metabolism. They would have to eat tremendous amounts of food to really get fat. The sensory organ I already said is the eye. Now, there is another sensory organ that has an aspect, and it's the tongue. So the tongue itself isn't associated with the wood element, but there is a certain taste that's associated with the wood element. And this taste is the sour taste. So this, like the sourness of a lemon, for instance, that's the classic wood element taste. Talking about a vocal expression, the vocal expression of the wood element is shouting and screaming. That's the expression of wood. Hey! That's the wood element expression aspect of the vocal side. Okay, there is obviously, I think you get the idea now, there is obviously a lot more to talk about. Those are just the major things that have to do with this conversion phase and your self, your being. That's just a selection of what I think are the most important ones. But obviously there would be the possibility to talk about that like a week or 2 weeks. There are whole books for each and every conversion phase, and it's difficult obviously to compress all that information into one small spot, but all the things that you need here now to understand the movement, to understand your physical body type, and further on to understand how to actually use those exercises, maybe even in a more conscious, more therapeutic way for yourself. All those informations are in here, and I gave that right now for the conversion phase wood.